I want to go ahead and say to everyone out there that's wondering, basketball players are not soft, but they are soft compared to football players. And that's just the truth. If NFL players had to play an 82-game schedule in one season, no team would have a healthy guy after 30 games, probably not even after 25 games. Yo, I'm Robert Griffin III, and this is RG3 and The Ones, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by PrizePicks. Listen, people, on this show, we're going to be talking to some of the most interesting people in the world. So if you haven't hit that like or subscribe button, I don't know what you're waiting for. I'm just the one who thinks that there are a lot of NFL football players that can play in the NBA right now. But before we get to that, I want you guys to know we're going to be dropping new episodes every single week. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube page and follow us on social media so you can get the daily clips that we're going to be posting to keep you abreast to what's going on in this world. And don't forget, you can also listen to us wherever you get your podcasts as well. Well, guys, it looks like the Washington Commanders have their quarterback of the future. And yes, I'm talking about the dual threat quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner, who was the second pick in the draft, Jayden Daniels. Now, I know a lot of those things sound familiar, and I saw the same graphic that many others saw with the amount of rushing touchdowns, the fact that we were both Heisman Trophy winners, the fact that we both were the second pick in the draft, flying around on social media. So I saw that. And I have to say that I really do hope that this organization, this new regime in Washington, takes care of this past first Heisman Trophy winning quarterback that they selected second overall. The reason I say that is because I had an opportunity to watch and call 3 of Jayden Daniels' games this past year, and I got to see how special of a talent he is. But the main thing I noticed was that the kid, or should I say the young man, is always doing what he feels is best for the team. He's trying to throw the football, not trying to look and run and make plays. And sometimes when you get that new shiny toy, right? It used to happen to me all the time when I unbox a new X-Man, and there's Wolverine. And when I get him, ching, he's got all the spikes coming out. And then after a few weeks, one of them falls off, and then another one falls off on the other hand, and maybe I don't play with it as much. And I hope in this case, if I was to get an X-Man Wolverine toy today, none of those claws would fall off because I would take care of the toy better. So I'm hoping that for Jayden, the organization, although they're not responsible for the crimes of the past organization, neither are the fans. But I hope the fans give this organization a chance to take care of Jayden in the right way so that he is not used or overused in certain areas of his game just because he's dynamic there. Jayden is a dynamic runner, but he's an even more dynamic passer. And I think this organization is ready to do that. Josh Harris leading the way as the owner. You got Adam Peters there at GM and Dan Quinn as the head coach. And they've already started the process of making sure that Jayden is put in a better situation. They already brought over his virtual reality training system from when he was at LSU. What did that do for him? It allowed him to play ahead of the defense because it'll flash the defense up in the room so where he can identify what pressure is coming. Hey, what tendencies does the defense have? What blitz packages do they normally bring? Are they a sawdog team? Are they a will-free safety team? And he was able to break those things down faster in college, and it allowed him to play faster, which is why I thought he was one of the better processors coming out of this year's draft class. They've also done a nice job of changing everything about the organization, from the way they approach practice, from the way they approach workouts, the team building things that they're doing, not just trying to grow guys the size of their biceps, their triceps, their quads, and their hamstrings, but also grow the connectivity between their brains. I've watched it on social media when I saw the coaches before practice getting the entire team hyped up as they're going through their warm-up drills. And I saw it through the workouts with their strength coach, Chad, who has them doing the barrel holes and things you see military units use to build team bonding, unity, and relationship. So this organization is handling everything the right way. They've taken their quarterback. Yes, they had the whole thing with bringing in all the QBs and all the players at one time, but I feel like they truly believe in who Jayden Daniels is, the person, and that's going to make them take care of who Jayden Daniels is, the player, that much better. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. Listen, the rage of all sports media right now is this conversation about basketball players versus football players and who can play in what league. And I'm not going to lie, I tried to stay out of it. I really did. Until my man Lemon Pepper Lou Williams came out and made a couple statements that I feel like they warrant a little bit of attention. So the first thing he talked about was that, hey, there might be some basketball players that are soft, but there's also football players that are soft. So I want to go ahead and say to everyone out there that's wondering, basketball players are not soft, but they are soft compared to football players. And that's just the truth. Listen, they say that, comparison is the thief of joy. Well, in this situation, I'm going to have to take your joy away because football players play a sport that only allows them to have 17 games in a regular season. Basketball, 82. Why is it 82? Because there's less wear and tear on the body when you play basketball as opposed to playing football. If NFL players had to play an 82-game schedule in one season, no team would have a healthy guy after 30 games, probably not even after 25 games. That's why, because of the wear and tear and the physicality it takes a stress on the mindset, on you being able to go out there and say, I'm going to get into 65 to 70 car crashes every single week. Every game I play, and I'm going to come back the next week and do it again. That is why we have the issues with CTE. That is why the NFL is a 100% injury rate league. That is not the same case for the NBA. To put it quite frankly, football players aren't soft, right? But they're soft compared to Navy SEALs, compared to the special ops and other soldiers. I'm a military kid. I know what those guys have to go through. Quartz isn't soft, but it's softer than a diamond. So understand that I'm not saying that with disrespect to NBA players. It's just let's live in reality here and understand that the sport that we play takes a bigger toll on your body and your mental than basketball does. Like, the fact of the matter is this. Think of it when you decide to go do something fun. Everybody wants to go play pickup basketball. You feel good about yourself. If you're athletic, it shows up immediately with rebounding and dunking, and you get some great cardio in. There's not a lot of people out there going out and playing pickup football. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's any. No one is going to go put on shoulder pads and sign up to go get into 65 to 70 car crashes on the weekend, get closer to having CTE and potentially tearing a bunch of ligaments in their body for fun. That's just not the way that people view it. So I also noticed, like, if you watch that viral clip of LeBron James and the Lakers with Frank Vogel playing football, like, they don't look like bad athletes, but it looks like something's like just a little off. Like, they're a little gangly, a little too tall here or there. But the second you see any football player who's a hooper, like a real hooper, when they pick up a basketball, you see it instantly. Dang, okay, that looked right. I posted a bunch of highlights of players in the NFL on my social media on Twitter. All those guys, when you watch them, you're like, oh, okay, he can rebound, he can dunk, he can shoot the three. I think he might have an opportunity to play at the next level if he really focused on that. And what I will say is this. I believe that Devontae Adams, Keon Coleman, and a guy like T. Higgins, they could go in the NBA and have a better chance at scoring in one game than almost any NBA player not named LeBron James would have of scoring a touchdown in an NFL game. It's not because basketball is easier than football. It's because the skills that make football players great translate better to basketball than those basketball players right now that truly only play ball going over to football. I know there's Antonio Gates, there's Tony Gonzalez. You're talking about Jimmy Graham, a bunch of guys that have come over and played tight end, one singular position, and been really, really great at that. But then none of them were great immediately. It took years for them to translate over and transition to playing ball. I think it's much easier for an NFL player to go into the NBA right now and score 10 points in an NBA game than it would be for any NBA player to come over and even score a touchdown in an NFL game. So that's the first point. The second point, Lou Will talked about players flopping in the NBA versus players flopping in the NFL. And he said essentially that, hey, it happens in both leagues. I agree. It really does. It's just flopping in the NFL doesn't have the same magnifying glasses on it as flopping in the NBA does. If I flop on a dribble drive to the paint, or I flop on a screen because he screened me too hard, and I go looking like a soccer player all over the floor, that they've made rules against the NBA and NBA players doing that because it was so prevalent. It's different when you're a quarterback and you make a throw down the field and a 300-pound defensive lineman runs his shoulder through you and you fall down to sell it a little bit. Like there's a certain level of physicality that's there and that is real that is not real on that screen. It's not real when you get your wrist slapped when you're dribbling and driving to the hole. In 1 second, it's like, man, I don't know if this guy's going to ever be able to play again because he hit his wrist. And then 2 seconds later or 5 seconds later, you're knocking down 2 free throws at the line like you got a brand new wrist. So understand that flopping in the NFL may be talked about or excessively selling penalties, but it's not something that they're making rules around because it's so prevalent in the NBA. And the last point he made was shooting a basketball is a harder skill to learn and perfect than anything a football player can do on the football field. And that's where I'm like, ooh, listen, that's tough. I don't believe that at all. Shooting a basketball is very hard. Shooting a basketball and making it in the NBA is even harder than shooting outside your house or at the rec center. But I don't think that Lou Williams has ever tried to throw a football on 3rd and 17 on a dagger across the middle where you've got a 270-pound defensive lineman who runs a 4.3 who has a free run at you because your offensive line slid to the right and you've got one guy off the edge free. But as a quarterback, you still have to stand in the pocket, take that 3 or 5 step drop, step up, knowing that you're about to get crushed, throw it over the defensive line and the linebackers in front of the corners and the safeties with pinpoint accuracy because the hole you're throwing to is about as big as a pineapple. All the while, that insane person is still running at you and hits you as you throw to the point where you don't even see the ball completed. You make the throw, you get hit, you're on the ground. And the only way that you can tell if the ball was completed is if you hear the crowd cheer or if you hear them sigh. Like, I don't think that Lou Will has ever caught a pass, that pass running across the middle where you can't even see the quarterback when you come out of your break because he's in a black hole of dangerous men trying to take his head off. To the point where you don't even see the ball as you're running in because the ball was already in flight, but there's a linebacker underneath you that's kind of covering it up. So by the time the ball is like 2 inches from your face, that's the first time you see it. And you're making that catch with a guy draped over your shoulders like sticky blinds, also in front of the safety, knowing that you're going to get hit and become a triple stuffed Oreo there in the middle of the field as you make that catch. I don't think he's ever had to do something like that to the point where he's saying, you know what? Shooting a wide open jump shot from the top of the key in the playoffs in game 5 with the game on the line, that's harder than making that routine catch or making that routine throw in an NFL game. So I'm not here to disrespect basketball, and I don't want anyone else disrespecting the other sports. Everybody's got talent. But when it comes to toughness, when it comes to who's harder than who and who's softer than who, football players reign supreme, and I'll argue that with anybody, any day of the week. RG3 and The Ones are presented by PrizePicks. Testing my skills on PrizePicks this playoff basketball season and past football season is the most simple way to get in on that action. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and submit your lineup. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 fantasy sports app. I made my first $10 deposit and received an instant $10 bonus. If you have the skills, and I've got skills, you can play for a shot at turning your $10 into $1,000. Playoff time is your time to join the PrizePicks community of over 5 million members who have already downloaded the app. And you guys get this. Get this. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Kickoff might be a long way out, but you can already pick more or less on 2024 season stats on PrizePicks. Season totals for passing yards, receiving touchdowns, sacks, you name it, we got it. So let's get into some early football picks this week. This week on PrizePicks, I selected my main man, DK Metcalf, to have more than 1,025.5 receiving yards. Yeah, that's right. DK is a whole lot of man, and I think that he's going to have a resurgent season, and it'll be so resurgent that I think he's going to leave that number in the dust. And secondly, I'm selecting Amon-Ra St. Brown to have more than 1,249.5 yards receiving. Why? because he's Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a Swiss Army knife of a wide receiver who can play in all different positions. He's got Jared Goff, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, throwing the football to him. That's why. And even though teams have been focused in on stopping him for the past 2 years, he's continued to improve in all of his statistical categories. So that's why I'm picking Amon-Ra St. Brown. So those are my picks. Daily Fantasy Sports is made easy with PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code RG3 for a first deposit match of up to $100. Let's get this money. Now, I just felt like it would be fun that we do a little bit of an NBA draft to the NFL and vice versa, NFL to the NBA. Now, because the NFL has 11 guys on the field at one time, we can't just take 5 over. So we built an entire roster of NBA players to go out on offense. So for the NBA to NFL draft, quarterback is LeBron James, running back Ja Morant. We got wide receiver Russell Westbrook and Anthony Edwards. At tight end, we got Luka Doncic and Zion Williamson. At left tackle, we got Wemby. At left guard, we got Boban. At center, we got Jokic. At right guard, we got Steven Adams. And at right tackle, we got Joel Embiid. First of all, we're going to start with LeBron James. He's going to be the quarterback of the team. Now, LeBron played a little bit of wide receiver / tight end in high school. But if you ever watched NBA players like kind of play flag football or anything like that, LeBron can throw the ball pretty dang good. And I think he would want to be the leader. He would want to have the ball in his hands at all times, which is kind of what he's done in his career. You know, at running back, I got to go with Ja Morant. Ja Morant, one of the most explosive players in the NBA, got bunnies for days, got the attitude that I feel like you kind of need to play in the NFL. Is he a running back? I don't know, maybe. But I feel like that was the best spot for him. At wide receiver, I would probably have to go with Russell Westbrook. One of the most athletic NBA players, I feel like, of all time. Has the tenacity, the energy. When he runs, he kind of runs like Isaiah Pacheco. You know, like the ground. He's mad at the ground about something, stole some money from or whatever. So I think that he would be a really nice wide receiver. Another wide receiver would have to be Anthony Edwards. He doesn't like being compared to MJ, even though he plays like MJ. He has a swag about him that I feel like if the ball was thrown in the air, it would be like his ball or nobody's ball. So I think he would be a phenomenal receiver for LeBron to throw to. Now, at tight end, this is when it gets a little tricky because you just can't have a pass catching tight end. You also got to have a pass catching / blocking tight end. So our pass catching tight end is going to be Zion Williamson. Zion's a beast. You know, he'll run through you, jump over you, you know, stare at you after whatever he does to you on a football field, just like he does on a basketball court. And then our other tight end would be Luka Doncic. Now, Luka can do some things with the rock in his hands, but he also, you know, he's going to have I feel like enough weight and heftness to his steps that he could be a good blocker for you at tight end as well. Then you got to get to the offensive line because I think this is what basketball players forget. Like everybody can't go over and play tight end and wide receiver. You got to have some guys blocking for you as well. So at left tackle, we're going to go with Wemby. Wembanyama is going to be the left tackle. He'll be the tallest left tackle of all time. I don't know if he could even get his hands on a pass rusher because they're so much smaller than him. But hey, we're going to put Wemby at left tackle. Then we're going to go with Boban at left guard. I feel like, you know, he's another giant as well, but these guys got to find their place on a football field. Everybody has a role, and you have to accomplish that role and do what the job details. So Boban, get out there. Can't just give away, you know, free hot dogs or whatever it was or nuggets for missing free throws. You got to block this Aaron Donald right in front of you at the nose. Then at center, I'm going to go with Jokic. Centers are underappreciated. They're more athletic than people give them credit for. Look at our guy, Jason Kelsey. You know, one of the greatest centers of all time, if not the greatest center of all time. So why not take the 3-time MVP, put him at center, let him control the offensive line, the point where the mic is, where everybody's got to go, who they got to block. Oh, no, the safety rolled down. We're going to shift and make him a linebacker now. Like Jokic can handle all that. So we're going to put him at center. Then we're going to go with Steven Adams, the Grizzly, at right guard. I just feel like he has the attitude for it. You know, he has that type of energy. When a fight breaks out, he's the one that's telling everybody to back up, and people listen because they don't want to have any problems with him. And then at right tackle, I'm going to go with Joel Embiid. Now, some people will say, oh, that's disrespectful to put one of the best basketball players in the galaxy at right tackle. Well, we just put one of the best ones at center, so that kind of kills that point. But also, the tackle positions are the most important. because you got to be able to protect your quarterback's blind side and also his front side. So I think Embiid needs to be in a position of value to get the best out of him. And that's why I put him over there at right tackle. And then for the NFL to NBA draft, going with our small ball lineup, we got at point guard Devontae Adams, shooting guard Keon Coleman, small forward T. Higgins, power forward Micah Parsons. Our center is Jordan Mailata, and our sixth man is Odell Beckham Jr. coming off the bench. Now, NFL back to the NBA is a little bit tougher. You only get 5 spots. So I've been posting highlights on my social media, on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, everywhere you can find your social ads at. And I've been just showing NFL players with their basketball highlights. So because of that, I'm going to use some of those guys in this draft because I know that they were proven basketball players coming up. They weren't just a one sport star. And it's not like they couldn't make it in basketball because these guys were highly recruited and they had massive D1 offers. One of them actually played in college as well. So at point guard first, I'm going to have Devontae Adams. Now, Devontae Adams has bunnies for days as well. He's the starting receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders right now, played with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He will be a Hall of Famer. But when you turn on this man's basketball tape, oh my goodness. Not only does he have the explosiveness needed, aka the athleticism, but he also has a good shot. So he's got a good 3-point shot. He can go between the legs, windmill, all these different things. So the athleticism is easily there, and he could score at will. But we don't need him to score at will because at shooting guard, we would have Keon Coleman himself. I'm talking about Mr. Macy's, Mr. Opelousas, Mama's fried chicken. That's what we're talking about, Keon Coleman, who's taken the media world and everybody by storm right now. But when you actually watch his highlights in basketball, he has the same things Devontae Adams has. He was just a 4-star point guard coming out of high school that ended up playing at Michigan State on the football and the basketball team. So explosiveness out of the wazoo, competitive on the field, on the court. He's going to make sure he gets those loose balls. He's getting steals. He's getting blocks. But he also has a nice step back 3. He can also pull up 3. He can shoot the 3 off the screen and roll. All that footage is in his highlight that I posted on Twitter. So that's our shooting guard. Now, at small forward, I'm going with T. Higgins. Now, sometimes people say athleticism isn't everything on a basketball court. But when you watch T. Higgins' highlight, it's everything on a basketball court. I mean, the guy is long. He's got a very long wingspan. When you see him cut through the middle and rise up between everybody and just yam it in them, you know what I'm saying? Chef Boy and RDing him up there. It's quite impressive. But then later, as I continue to watch this tape, because we study for these things, we have to be prepared for everything. T. Higgins actually has a really nice shot as well. And he was a highly recruited basketball player. And he has said that he loved basketball more, but he chose football. Doesn't mean choosing football is made it easier for him. It's just that's where his heart was at. So at power forward for us, we're going to play small ball. So I'm going to go with Micah Parsons, who had a gazillion points in the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game, but mostly because when Micah talks, he usually backs up what he's talking about. And he's been talking a whole lot of trash about everything. He's challenging sumo wrestlers. He's doing all types of stuff. So Micah, in my opinion, his strength, which we saw in that game, he was honestly bullying my guy CJ Stroud at times when he was trying to guard him, and the ability to finish. I think you need a guy like that on the court. He'll be an enforcer on the defensive side, but he can also give you 20. He thinks he can average 20 in the NBA right now. So let's go ahead and throw him in there and let him prove that. And then at center, I just feel like because we're playing small ball, we are going to need a little bit of a bigger presence that can help us also deter people from coming to the paint. And that's none other than the center for us would be Jordan Mailata, guard for the Philadelphia Eagles. Not only can he block everybody in the run game and pancake them, he can block them in the pass game on a football field. He's hilarious. He's like a stand-up comedian a little bit. And now he would be able to go there and be our center that people just aren't going to want to go to the paint because they see this big old man in there holding it down for us. So that would be our starting 5. And then you got to have a 6th man in basketball. So we can't just draft 5 guys. We also got to go make sure we get that 6th man. And for us in this group, it's going to be OBJ. Odell Beckham Jr. You need energy when you got a guy coming off the bench, a guy that's not afraid to take a shot, a guy that's not afraid to at times maybe not play all the time, but when he gets in there, he's got the green light. And I feel like that would be OBJ for us. He's going over right now to the Miami Dolphins to play with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Like, all three of those guys can't be on the field at the same time all the time. So somebody's coming off the side to spell a guy and really go out there and shake things up for the defense. That would be OBJ for us on the basketball side. So all this conversation about football and basketball actually sparked a thought in my mind. And, I think that JJ Redick should be the coach of the Lakers, whether LeBron James is there or not. And here's why. JJ Redick is a brilliant mind, a brilliant basketball mind. He will be able to bring the eyeballs to the Lakers that they always covet because people will be interested in how he's going to approach this. But I think he also has a more modern mind for how to build a roster or put together a team to win in today's NBA. So whether LeBron is there or not, I think it's a great idea to actually hire JJ as the coach. Now, if LeBron is there, JJ already has a great relationship with him, and that certainly helps. They have a podcast together and called Mind the Game. And all they're going to do is allow LeBron to run the show, and JJ is going to piece everything around him. Now, I saw the viral clip, like I think a lot of you saw the viral clip of LeBron James in the huddle with Darvin Ham telling him, hey, let me draw the play up. LeBron at this point in his career can be a player coach, 100%. So I think the Lakers have a few options. Hire JJ Redick for everything, or don't hire a coach at all and just let LeBron run the show. He wants to play with his son, Bronny, and he has a great relationship with a guy like JJ Redick, who's going to be very willing to allow LeBron to do everything that he wants to do and utilize all of the information that he has. I think it's a perfect scenario. And there's going to be people who tune in to watch JJ Redick lose. And there's going to be people who tune in to see just how he does or to watch him win. I think it's a win-win for everybody, because if LeBron is gone, JJ can build that roster from scratch. But if LeBron is there, JJ can get the best of LeBron. All right, people, Jared Goff just got paid. I mean, $170 million guaranteed and $217 million total. I mean, that's incredible, especially for a guy that a lot of people call a game manager. He just keeps breaking barriers. He keeps proving people wrong. And he was honestly sent to Detroit to absolutely die. Jared Goff was not sent to Detroit to become what he has become and break the records that he has and set a standard there in Detroit that now everyone expects them to win. Since that trade happened, Jared Goff didn't just find a way to keep his career rolling. He found a way to get better. He found a way to make a city better. Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford have almost identical numbers in almost every major statistical category. You're talking about wins, touchdown passes, completion percentage, et cetera, et cetera. Look it up. Warren Sharp put it out on social media, and it's actually very eye-opening because Jared Goff embodies exactly what it means to the phrase that's out there, right? One man's trash is another man's treasure. He's not just the treasure. He got traded away to a city that is known for its blue-collar work. And he, blue-collarly, found his way to work his way to become a franchise-changing quarterback and make history for the Detroit Lions. I don't just mean history on the field, because that's a lot, but also history in the bank account, because he's the highest paid Lion ever. His teammates believe in him. The city believes, and they were chanting his name at the draft this past year. If somebody doesn't write a Hollywood script for Jared Goff and his story and what he's been able to do and overcome in his career, I don't know who will. And although the Rams do have that Super Bowl, Jared Goff now, although he was sent to a bad situation, is in a better situation with the Detroit Lions than Matthew Stafford is with the Rams. If that's not a full circle moment, I don't know what is. Now, since we're talking about Jared Goff, I have to use this example to talk about Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. For everything that Jared Goff has accomplished and done for the Detroit Lions, Dak Prescott has honestly been better with the Dallas Cowboys. The only difference between Jared Goff and Dak Prescott right now is the fact that Jared Goff has been to the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game, and Dak Prescott has had some struggles in the playoffs. But when you look at their major statistical categories, Dak Prescott eclipses Jared Goff in almost every single one except passing yards per game and total passing yards. So why am I bringing this up? I'm not bringing this up to rain on Jared Goff's parade because I've praised the guy for years now, and I think he's much more than a game manager. But I bring it up because Dak Prescott and the Cowboys are sitting there in the middle of a contract stalwart, and really every single day that goes by, the Cowboys are just making the number for Dak Prescott go up. When you think about it, Dallas, what better option do you have out there than Dak Prescott, who played at an MVP level last year? I know you want him to be successful in the playoffs. I know you want him to win when it matters. Everybody that's a Cowboys fan wants the Cowboys to win when it matters. But if you don't show your quarterback that you love him, then you're not going to get the best out of your team because he's their leader. If you don't back up their leader, who's there for them to follow? All right, guys, it's story time. Anytime I do one of these solo episodes, I just want to look back on my NFL career and talk about all the great moments. And honestly, for me, guys, one of the greatest moments in my rookie year in 2012 was the last game of the season. We were playing against the Dallas Cowboys, and it was win or go home. This is week 17 at the time. We were only playing 16 games at that time in the NFL. So it's week 17. Cowboys are coming to town. The division is on the line. We're riding a 6-game winning streak. I'm playing on one leg, which I shouldn't have, but that's a story for another time. And we go out there and we dominate the Dallas Cowboys to win that week 17 game and punch our ticket to the playoffs. Everyone's cheering, and it's the loudest I've ever heard FedEx Stadium in my entire life. It gave chills down our spines for everybody on the sideline. It was absolutely incredible. And I remember in that game, Alfred Morris ran for 200 yards. He literally carried us into the playoffs. He carried us most of that season. And I still feel to this day that Alfred Morris is one of the most underappreciated running backs in Washington Commanders history. And that makes me sad because I remember in that game, came off the field on our last possession, and the crowd starts chanting my name. And I look in the crowd and I say, thank you. And I point to Alfred Morris, and he's standing right there next to me. And I implore the fans to chant Alfred's name because I felt like throughout the year, a lot of the spotlight had been shined on myself and Pierre Garçon and Santana Moss and Trent Williams and what our defense was doing with D'Angelo Hall and getting turnovers. But they weren't shining a bright enough light on the guy who ran for over 1,600 yards. I mean, 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns. Without Alfred Morris, 2012 is not a reality. He wasn't a high draft pick. He wasn't our starting running back going into training camp. He just worked and worked and worked and found his way to the top of the roster. And I never felt like he got his due, despite the fact that he then came back and rushed for over 1,200 yards and then rushed for another 1,000 yards in back-to-back-to-back seasons. Alfred Morris should have been a Washington Commander or Washington Redskin for life. That's the type of impact he had on me. That's the type of impact he had on his teammates. That's the type of impact that he had on our team. The second that Alfred got done wrong a few years later, everybody felt that because we knew how much work he put in and we knew that how much he wanted it and how much he desired it. But when a new coach comes in, they don't always see it that way with certain players. And Alfred, man, he was such a good dude. And to see and hear the crowd chant his name, I mean, it felt like 200,000 fans in the stands that night. To hear them chant his name was one of the best moments I think I had in 2012 as a rookie. And I'm forever indebted to him and his family for how well they treated me, treated my family, and how much of a friend he was to me in that locker room. So I just wanted to give Alfred Morris his due. I don't feel like he gets it. And I hope that Josh Harris and Adam Peters and Dan Quinn find a way to bring Alfred back and honor him in front of all the fans, because I know they would love that. All right, people, that's a wrap for episode 35 of RG3 and The Ones. I want to say thank you to the ones who keep watching this show and having a good time with us, giving us suggestions and tuning in every single week. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. And if you are, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so that we can keep this bad boy rolling. You guys know that RG3 and The Ones is a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by PrizePicks in partnership with the Whispering Oaks Productions. I want to give a huge shout out to my producer, Joanna, Andrew, and our editor, Brady. They do an amazing job of making sure this show stays on the rails, because sometimes I can go all the way over there. But you guys know, all right, that before we go, I like to give you guys a little something to chew on, right? A little motivation. So I want you to know that you got to stop letting those distractions pull you away from your purpose, all right? Stay focused. Sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice fun now so you can have fun later. Let's go grind. Let's go get what we want to get in life and make sure we don't take no for an answer when it comes to how hard we're willing to work to get it. All right, guys? Once again, like and subscribe to our YouTube page. Make sure you follow us on social media at RG3 and The Ones. And remember, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. We'll make sure that we keep giving you the things that you need to take one thing from each show to apply to your own life so you can become better in that bad boy. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.